All right, let's be honest. How many times when we're online are you actually reading? And how many times are you spending more time scrolling and just kind of word hopping and browsing? Okay, if you're like me, most of the time when you're using the internet for social or personal uses, you're spending a lot of time browsing and skimming, but not so much time reading. And that's fine because your goal when you're online for social and personal purposes is not necessarily in-depth learning or gaining new understandings. It's really often more about shopping, literally, or just kind of getting ideas of things, sampling new things. And so you don't have to really settle down and read. But when you're reading online for school, a lot of times we are looking for that more comprehensive, deeper understanding of new ideas. And so since we're used to spending a lot of time browsing and skimming for our personal and um, our social purposes online, it can be really hard to settle down and read, okay? And even for me, and I'm used to reading a lot online, I have to really consciously think about it, all right? So today is going to be about how to consciously settle yourself into different ways of processing information, browsing, skimming, and reading, when to do each, and kind of how to get started getting to that more in-depth understanding that your teachers really want you to have and that you're going to get more out of. All right, so let's start with browsing. Reminds me of shopping, and actually that's what you do when you go to a library or a bookstore. You browse. You don't read every book. You look at the sections, okay? My eyes are just floating over it. I'm going to move my mouse where my eyes are going. Ooh, Barbara Kingsolver. I've glanced at this, but I'm not interested. Oscar nominees I'm interested in, but not for books. Ooh, Sonia Sotomayor. She's a Supreme Court Justice. I love her. Or I love Supreme Court. Khaled Hosseini, I read The Kite Runner. Okay, so see how, in seconds, I have taken several things away from this for my general scattered purpose of looking for something to read. Okay, if I go in more depth, maybe I'm going to start skimming a little bit more. So let's go back to the Sonia Sotomayor. Maybe I would skim the overview. Okay, I've got the whole thing there. I don't really want to know the details of it because if I want to learn about her life, I'm going to read the book. But I might read the first sentence or two in the last one because a lot of times the beginnings and endings of paragraphs give us the big information. Okay, I know the basics about her, instant American icon, now with a candor and intimacy never undertaken by a sitting justice. Okay, so now this is getting to my more targeted purpose. And now I realize that now I'm not just shopping for a book, I'm trying to decide in a more targeted way, does this sound like a good book that I might want to read? So I have a clearer purpose now. And I see some good adjectives here that make it sound positive. Okay. So I might go down to the bottom, destined to become a classic, warm and honest book of self-invention and self-discovery. Okay, so see how I skimmed that, beginning and end, very targeted for my learning purpose. And it wasn't really an in-depth thing, it was very superficial, but it fulfilled my needs, all right? If you're reading for school, for academic purposes, or even if you're reading complex things like the newspaper, or you have personal interests that are more challenging, you need to settle down and actually read entire paragraphs and entire sentences. And that's what we really need to work on most, all right? So, for example, if you were going to read about how to keep your respiratory system for your health class, you might spend some time browsing still. I still like to look at kind of the overview of the site. I noticed it's Live Strong, reminds me that's Lance Armstrong. I might look at how it's organized. We've got the title, we've got steps, okay, that's helpful. We've got other things here if I want more detail about the respiratory system, okay, and we've got the references there. All right, so I've browsed. Now I might skim, okay. I know that what I have to do in this little research assignment is figure out how to keep that system healthy. Okay, so I'm going to skim, get the gist, so that when I read, I'll be more focused. Okay, so notice here that skimming is preparation for reading, not an end in itself. Okay, back when I was on barnesandnoble.com, skimming was the end for me. I was skimming to decide if I wanted to read the book. okay? Now I'm skimming to just prepare myself to read more effectively. All right, so I'm going to skip the intro since these steps are so clear, but I might just like read the very first sentence. You can promote respiratory health in many ways beyond not smoking. Okay, well, I guess that's a given. Step 1, exercise regularly. Step 2, eat a diet rich in nutrients necessary, blah, blah, blah. Drink plenty of water. Add house plants. Huh, interesting. Wash your hands frequently. Exercise in cleaner conditions. All right. So I've skimmed, I got the gist of it. Now, the mistake that a lot of students make is that often students will go straight to taking notes based on having skimmed something. All right? And while that might complete the assignment, it's going to give you a very shallow understanding of what you're researching, okay? And what you're doing there is you're playing the game of school, you're getting things done, you're getting your points, but you're not really learning anything, okay? And that may seem like a good choice now, but in the long run, you know, learning about your respiratory system is not just about getting points. It's about learning about how to keep your respiratory system healthy, and hopefully you'll be breathing for your whole life. So these are things you actually want to have a comprehensive understanding of. All right, so I've skimmed and now I'm going to actually read it. All right, that's the hard part. I'm going to stop talking soon because reading requires silence. All right. I recommend that as you're kind of working on moving from browsing to skimming to reading, I recommend that you time yourself. And I would spend for a site like this, it's about 1 page of text. I would spend about 10 seconds browsing, maybe 30 seconds skimming, and then I would set my timer at like 5 minutes for reading and taking notes. It's pretty quick. Maybe you'll need more than 5 minutes. Maybe you won't need quite 5 minutes, but if you finish reading and taking notes in 2, you have not really read and understood the things here, even though this is short. All right, so I really recommend you start out by timing and then giving yourself the quiet and the stability, so you got to stop scrolling to actually read. All right, so now is the silent part, and happy reading and happy learning.